Hello everyone, my name is Koen and today I will talk to you about the API maturity and the next steps at Smals. I work for the research team at Smals for 10 years now, and the research team studies all kinds of different IT topics, and we see if they're any good, and if they are any good, we introduce them at Smals and our clients. My main interests are in software engineering. One of the topics I did a few years ago is the API economy, which is why I've been chosen to talk to you today. But the story today is really about a whole bunch of people who are very dedicated at improving the way we work at Smals with APIs. So without further ado, API, the Smals story. So let me first introduce our company and my team to you. So Smals is the company that provides IT services for the social security and healthcare sectors in Belgium, and also some other government agencies. So we work for e-government, and we're one of the founding members of the G-Cloud initiative. The G-Cloud is a community cloud for the government. We're also one of the top employers in Belgium, with over 2,000 people now currently in our employ. So these are just a few of the public institutions we work for. They are on all levels, federal to local. And the thing is, they have a lot of connectivity that they need to do among each other. And that's a big part of the job of Smals, that is to integrate all of these systems. Now, the research team is a special small team in Smals. We study all kinds of new technologies that are not yet in production. And we help spread the knowledge around for these technologies and support going live. Highlight the topics. These are the topics I specialize in. So we're going to talk about API management now. So let me start with the strategic goals for API management at Smals. Now, we're not a typical company as we work for the government. We are a non-profit. So we can't be selling or monetizing our APIs. Then what also complicates matters is that because we're government, we're bound by special rules like the GDPR, because we're always working with personal data, citizen data and company data. Now, our clients, they may have different goals and constraints. There are many different government agencies, and they may need to share their data, but sometimes they can have duplicate data and functionality. So this is what will govern our strategy, how to make this better. So what will be our strategy? Well, it's all about this. The main thing is saving the taxpayer some money, because we have to do the administration. It might as well cost the minimum it can cost. So to summarize this, of course, it's a bit broader than that. Our goal is to help make e-government better and more efficient, so that we can improve the services to the public and save the taxpayer some money. More practically, this translates to two general strategies that we employ. The first one is that we try to build as many horizontal platforms as possible, so that all of our different clients can use the same platforms in a homogeneous way. Now, building platforms carries a higher upfront cost, but the return on investment in the long term is incredible. And of course, one of these platforms will be an API management platform. The second central strategy is that we focus on reuse. Software reuse, that is, and APIs are the perfect vehicle for software reuse, as we will see later on. One thing to conclude our strategy talk: good API management is crucial, but as we will see later in the presentation, it's more than just tooling. It's the entire organization. So let's dive into a little history lesson. Where are we and how did we get there? Smals was already a company in 1939 when we did mechanographics, with the punch cards. And we've come a long way since then. In 2017, we started having API management and an API management platform. But before that, we already did REST. And before that, we did service-oriented architecture. And we had SOAP services. Now, recently in 2018, we started, together with several other federal agencies, the Reuse initiative to maximize software reuse. So let me go into a few examples. Our two main sectors are social security and e-health. They are quite different. Social security has lots of APIs, lots of internal traffic, government to government. 90% of traffic is government to government. And peak load is slightly lower than e-health. And the other main sector is e-health. It has less APIs, and most of the consumers are external. These will be your local hospitals and doctor practices. Software running there will use these APIs. The peak load is twice that of social security, and it's bursty. This will correlate mainly with office hours. So one example is the patient consent API. Well, there's also a patient consent website, but you may not have heard of it. The thing is, as a patient, you can give your consent to a doctor to consult your global medical file. Now, this used to be a website, but it wasn't consulted very often. Nowadays, we have an API, and the service is integrated in the software running at your doctor. So the doctor can simply ask you, hey, can I access your global medical file? And you say yes, and then everything is arranged via the API, and usage of the service has gone up tremendously because of that. So, about our shared platform approach. This started gradually, actually. In the early days, it was mainly shared data center, a common programming language to do project for the clients, and negotiating bulk contracts with vendors so that we could have economy of scale. Later on, we started doing more and more integration. So we had many integration platforms and enterprise service bus and so on. And then recently, we helped found the G-Cloud, a government cloud providing infrastructure as a service. And soon after that came platform as a service, and now also several software as a service components. And then, of course, since 2017, we have an API management platform for the whole government to put their APIs on. So a few more words on the G-Cloud. It's more than metal. It's an entire organization. All of these government agencies that are part of it can cooperate on projects and services to get synergies. Also, the procurement is still there. We still do purchasing for all of our clients together. And of course, a lot of know-how and expertise is shared. And that's one of the main benefits that's often overlooked. So, the other central strategy, as you recall, was reuse. And let me now talk to you about how reuse and API management are closely interwoven. The reuse initiative is actually an initiative by several public agencies together with my company. Now, about reuse. We wanted to do more and more reuse, but of course, you want to be able to measure what it gives you so that you can improve it later on. And that's why we have embedded reuse in the entire project lifecycle in all our projects and also at the clients. So what that allows us is to really compare the cost of a project with and without reuse and calculate the return on investment. So for example, in 2019, 54% of what we used was actually reusing previously existing artifacts. And 23% of the newly built artifacts were reusable. And that resulted in a 35% return on investment, which means 10 million euros for the Belgian taxpayer. So what is the vision behind the reuse initiative? Well, of course, it revolves around a central catalog of reusable artifacts, mainly APIs. But of course, around that, you need processes and tools so that you can sustain a project lifecycle that has reuse first and foremost as its goal. Now, in order to have that, you need the human networks. Everyone needs to be involved from the C-level to developers so that you can really maximize visibility of reusable artifacts. Because you can have a nice catalog full of reusable stuff, but if no one looks at it, well, then there's no reuse. And to support all of this, well, we had to establish a real mental shift, a culture change across everyone in the organization and at the clients, so that they really thought of reuse first before anything else. Now, we also have the API management solution. Our provider is Xway. I think they're also speaking here, at this event. Now, we migrated from an enterprise service bus to an API gateway, but we're still running them in parallel. Why are we doing this? Well, it allows to migrate with zero impact. You just run both APIs on both platforms, and you steer the traffic away from one to the other. And nobody notices a thing. And this platform is really good for today's technology, but luckily it supports our legacy technology as well. We're still running a few SOAP services there. And now, after all, this product has really helped us accelerate our time to market. But as I said in the introduction, we have to go beyond tooling. API management is really something that we try to get into our organization's soul. Now, how do we do that? Well, one important actor is the REST board. They developed and maintain a uniform federal vocabulary. So for the whole government, they should follow the same REST guidelines. Now, other important things are, of course, documentation. An API catalog is extremely important, but you need other documentation as well. How-tos, frequently asked questions, and stuff about the other integration platforms, not just the APIs. Now, no culture shift could be complete without a good focus on training. And that's not just REST development, but also the simple stuff like how to get your API on the API gateway. You have to train people to know that. Now, the last two are very interesting. We've also established 2 competency centers. The first one is the Integration Competency Center, and they control and manage all of the knowledge and the development necessary to have all these integration platforms. Because as I said, it's not just an API gateway. We still run an enterprise service bus. We have an event bus. There's still a bus for the mainframe, and there's a portal. And then the last one is the most interesting one. That's the Reuse Competency Center. So what is the Reuse Competency Center? It's actually a group that we made up of people from all kinds of different teams. Now, there's a fixed group. They decide the general strategy for reuse. But then there's also a group per project. Of course, the project team is involved. But then you have functional and business analysts, because they are really the best placed to identify reuse on a business level. But of course, we also include solution architects and enterprise architects, because there's still a lot of reuse going on at an architectural level. And then finally, the project management office is involved because the methodology can keep improving. And in a project, they also need to train and get better at reuse. So, as I mentioned in the introduction, APIs are the perfect vehicle for reuse. Why is that? Well, the biggest value of reuse is when you can reuse your business functionality. Now, there's all kinds of different artifacts that you can reuse, from libraries to entire programs. And obviously, an entire custom-made program will have the most business functionality. But it's going to be very hard to integrate into your other systems. Whereas a simple library that you can call from your programming code, that's very easy to integrate. Now, APIs, they are really in the sweet spot because they can still provide a lot of business functionality, and especially if you use REST, they're super easy to integrate. So let me conclude the reuse part of this talk by summarizing our API governance. So we had the REST style guide. Then we have the API first mentality. First you document the API, only then you build the rest of your project. So that being said, documentation is of course very important, and a good catalog equally important. And all of this resulted in about 68 highly reusable business level APIs by the end of 2019. Of course, there are a lot more reusable APIs, but they are also mainly on a technical level. So we talked about how we implemented our 2 main strategies concerning API management. Now, as this event says, what's our next step? Okay, so we've had great progress so far using a bottom-up approach. Why bottom-up? Well, we moved from batch systems to real-time systems and reusable APIs. But this was mainly a technology-driven movement. It was led by developers, architects, later on IT departments, and so on. So it really started from the bottom up. Also, we moved from shared data centers at the bottom of the engineering stack to shared infrastructure and middleware, and eventually to shareable business-level APIs. So always up the stack, which is also a bottom-up approach. So a bottom-up story, but what kind of maturity have you reached with that? I took the model from Archers here, who are also speaking at this event, and applied it to Smals. As you can see, I think we are mostly very mature, but there are a few areas where we can still improve a bit. And these are the strategy, governance, and the evangelization of APIs. So, how do we get those last filled in? I think it's time for some top-down involvement. I think we need more of the top management involved, not just at Smals, but across the whole of government. They should really come up with a shared vision for APIs and for reuse and a strategy to achieve it. And that way we can go from a project-driven approach to a vision-inspired approach. We really have to challenge the business level at this point. These people should ask themselves, not just, so what services and data do I need in my project, in my agency? No, they should consider, what can we offer a global governmental API economy so that all can benefit, not just all the institutions, but even the citizens and companies of the country. Now, the goal here is to keep evolving. Maybe we can provide more APIs open to external users, the companies and the citizens. Maybe they can invent new and exciting services. And we also have to perfect the only once principle. The only once principle dictates that if you give some data to the government, for example, you fill in your tax report, then later on, when you're talking to another government agency and they want the same data, they should not ask you again. They should get that data from when you've given it already. And eventually all of that could evolve into something that we call government as a service. So government as a service is really about a shift to an API economy to increase the value of all of these services. So APIs can drive business processes in e-government, and they are key in real-time information exchange, but they can do so more. We can open it up to private sector and citizens, and they could create new and innovative apps and services. Now, a final word on that government as a service. It should go beyond APIs. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we used to be on the left part of the slide. See, we had vertical silos built on a shared infrastructure. And then we moved to the right part of the slide. We established horizontal platforms, one on top of the other, which eventually culminated into the G-Cloud, and on top of that, reusable business-level APIs. So, beyond APIs, what is there beyond APIs? Well, I think that they should really start thinking about the concepts and the workflows and what they do and bring that closer together. One government agency may have its own definition of what a citizen is. Another government agency may have another. So how do we get those concepts closer together? How do we cooperate more on projects so that as when a citizen looks at e-government, it doesn't see a plethora of different kinds of services, but one whole to ask anything of. But of course, well, that's a dream. But we're working on it. So, let me conclude for you by summarizing this presentation. So, at Smals, we've been doing API development for many years now, and I think we've had a successful evolution towards API-driven development. And this has been mostly a bottom-up approach. Now, of course, we use the tools of the trade, API management, RESTful tools, stuff like that. But there's more. We couldn't do this without transforming the organization, and that's really the key point here. We had to introduce measurable reuse in our project approach. We introduced many organizational teams like the REST board, the Reuse and Integration Competency Centers, and they really help put the focus on reuse through APIs. And of course, none of this is possible without increasing awareness, without good documentation and training throughout the entire organization, and even involving all of the clients so that we cause an overall culture shift towards a reuse and API first methodology. So, and the vision for the future is, well, top-down involvement. We need to involve the business in this story. For some further reading, the first two links are interesting talks by my CEO, Frank Robben. Among others, he goes into more detail about the government as a service. And then we have some relevant blog posts of mine. They are more technical and they're in Dutch. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.